Mike Roach, the voice of the Toronto Raptors. How are you?
I'm good, thank you, man. How are you doing, Max?
I'm doing fantastic. Life is great. How is Toronto right now? We're on completely two different spectrums. I'm here in Daytona Beach, Florida. You're in Toronto. So how are you?
Yeah, life is all right, man. I'm getting ready soon to get to game 4 for Raptors Sixers. I'm hoping
Yep.
we don't get swept today.
See, but
So,
the positive is you have the opportunity to get swept. I cover the Orlando Magic, so my season's over, right? I'm recording podcasts. I'm about to start diving into the draft stuff. I've never been to Toronto though, and I've had a friend who recently just went. He's like, "Oh, you got to go." And I had a friend. Shout out to DJ's, the Coach Media Group, and he used to coach professional football up in Toronto, and he loved it. He had nothing but great things to say about it. Obviously, I saw the way the city rallied behind Kawhi Leonard. It seems like you
yeah,
guys have an amazing thing
I,
going in Toronto.
I think you'd like it a bit more in the summer.
Yeah, yeah,
I don't get me wrong. It's awesome all year round. Don't get me wrong. But if you really want to get that nice experience, the summertime, fall is the best time. Winter, still good, but
yeah.
it's messy.
Right, right, right. Now let me ask you a quick off-topic question here before we dive into Toronto Raptor basketball. Drake, does he truly have the keys to the city?
Yeah, I say he does. He's Toronto's son. He can do no wrong here,
Yeah,
pretty much.
yeah, yeah.
You know,
I mean, it's to the point where your broadcast is focusing on like when Drake is there. I mean, it's just known. It's almost like the Spike Lee for
he's
the
he's been on the broadcast many times as well. He jumps on the broadcast a lot of times, especially during the regular season. Not so much in the playoffs, but regular season, he
yeah.
comes around the table and he hops on the broadcast.
He knows his hoops.
I don't know about all that. I mean, he knows. I would say he knows some hoops. How in depth?
Right.
I don't know, but I would like to talk to him about that one day.
Yeah.
Hopefully, you'll be seeing that.
Yeah, it's gonna happen. We'll speak into existence. But let's talk Raptors basketball, man. So there's a lot of great things to take away from this season. I mean, Scotty Barnes seems to be like the forefront of that. I was when I was covering the draft this year, and I know we Shad and I went on your show as well, talked some draft stuff, but I remember thinking for the Orlando Magic. So when Shad and I were covering it this year on SUV TV, selfishly, of course, I have bias. I'm covering the Orlando Magic. Who would I want to see there? And I feel like the Scotty Barnes pick for you guys is kind of what shook up the whole draft. We
Mhm.
weren't since that. I was like, wow, now I don't know what Orlando's going to do. Like that kind of ruffled the feathers of the whole draft. So kind of let's just rewind the clocks back a little bit. When you got that pick, what was your initial reaction? And did you foresee the success he ended up having for you guys?
So I didn't think the Raptors would take Scotty Barnes. I thought they were going to go with Suggs just because we were kind of unsure of the direction that the Raptors wanted to go. Like, we know you have Fred. We know you have Pascal.
Mm-hmm.
OG is there. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I don't think anybody foresaw the Raptors being a 5th seed playoff team in the Eastern Conference this season.
Right.
The pick with Scotty Barnes, I wasn't surprised that they did it because that's just the type of front office that we have. When you look at the track record of Masai Ujiri, Bobby Webster, the scouting department in Dan Tolzman, these guys really do their homework. They never seem to just go with who the consensus pick would be. When you look at all the mock drafts and you listen to the analysts, they don't really roll like that. They don't care.
Right.
They do their homework. They had an agenda. They wanted somebody who is a guy who can do a little bit of everything. If Scotty Barnes was a guy who can handle the ball in college, came off your bench, was still able to lead your team in assists, he was a playmaker, but with size. You're looking at his defensive ability. Now, at some point, you have to say, okay, I was thinking Jalen Suggs would be the guy who can give a little bit to you more, maybe immediately, right now, right? But they're going to look at it from the standpoint as, okay, when we draft, what is the ceiling for these guys? What can this player be?
Right.
What can this player be in 3 years, 4 years, 5 years? Jalen Suggs compared to a guy like Scotty Barnes, right? Scotty Barnes has greatly exceeded expectation.
Right.
Like, this is already a success to us this year.
Yes.
It's already a success to us. I mean, this guy, okay, defensively, we see what it can do. It doesn't matter with Scotty Barnes. You can put him on anyone, 1 through 5. Makes no difference. He can guard everyone. He's done it all season long. And he's locked some guys up on the perimeter and in the paint. I don't think we understood how quickly his offensive ability was going to jump. Like, it really took that leap. And it wasn't even so much of a leap. It was kind of there already.
It was.
You know what I mean? He was never shy about shooting from the outside. Didn't do it much in the beginning, but he's still a pretty decent 3-point shooter for a rookie. Like, when he has the ball and he's on the perimeter and he's shooting, you don't stand there and say, uh-oh. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's almost like, all right, Scotty Barnes is taking that shot. We'll live with it. You know what I mean? So offensively, I like that he's learning to use his size. He's going into the paint. He has that, catch the ball. He can face you up or he can back you down, take a few dribbles and a soft little jump hook. You know what I mean? That's kind of like his bread and butter. He's physical. He's aggressive.
Yeah.
So, I mean, only good things for Scotty Barnes here, man. Everybody is really happy with that pick. You already know from now he's going to be the future of this team.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. Now, I remember there's just something about the product of FSU. And I just love the way that their guys approach the game. Like, you're going to get people that enter the league that may not be the most refined. I mean, who's the most refined? LeBron James, when he entered the draft, wasn't the most refined. But It's the way that you approach the game. It's the way you approach challenges, development, improvement. And I love his approach to the game and how he's just seeking the challenge. He's aggressive. And that's what ultimately you want from somebody who you want to build around, like a culture guy. Now, Majaya Ujiri got a lot of attention. Obviously, when you guys won the championship, he went all in with Kawhi Leonard, aggressive wins. I loved it. I thought it was one of the smartest moves he's done. Honestly, if you look at it, that's probably like one of the most successful. I don't know if you want to call it a 1-year rental, but it's one of the most successful short-term success that a player has had right away going to a different organization. Normally, it's a growing process. I mean, even when LeBron went to Miami, they didn't win the first year. It takes some time. What have you thought of his approach post Kawhi Leonard, right? Because it was amazing what he did to win the championship and he was getting a lot of love. But now that Kawhi left, I don't know what people had different expectations, obviously, for Toronto. Then Kyle Lowry, a Raptor great, goes to Miami. What have you thought of his approach since post Kawhi Leonard?
I thought it's been pretty good thus far. That season when we were in Tampa is kind of like a write-off. Nobody counts it. Nobody talks about it. Nobody cares about it.
Yep.
But, for example, this season, I think he did quite well. When you look at, him holding on to Pascal Siakam and Fred VanVleet, Pascal Siakam may make an all-NBA team. Fred is an all-star.
Yep.
And now it's about the pieces around them, right? So holding on to those two, OG Anunoby is a nice piece that I think is not done developing yet.
Yeah.
And he's a nice 3-and-D guy who is very important to our lineup because of that shooting ability and his ability to guard multiple positions.
Right.
I like the move that they made with trading Norman Powell for Gary Trent Jr.
Me too.
Gary Trent's only 23 years old. He has a long way to go. And he's another guy who can make the three and he can guard, which is fantastic. And the Raptors, don't get me wrong, they're, like I mentioned earlier, we didn't expect them to be this good. We just did not.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not even sure the front office expected them to be this good, to be honest with you. When you look at all the other teams, like Cleveland was a team who was up there who's ended up falling out. Atlanta just made it through their skin of the teeth.
Yep.
Like, they're a team that we expected to be way up in the Eastern Conference. Charlotte was another team that I was expecting to be a little bit better. The Knicks were a team I was expecting to be a bit better. Ultimately, that didn't happen, and the Raptors have their chance. So he has to put together a well-balanced team.
Very true.
Now we're just kind of waiting to see what's going to happen after the season. Now they're down 0-3 right now in the playoffs. Obviously, there's going to be change.
Yep.
But as of right now, things are looking pretty good. The one main thing with all these different guys that they have who play their roles really well, clearly at this point they have options. So it's just to see what direction they're going to go in, right? Obviously, you're going to try to upgrade the team. You have good players on your team. Where they're going to try to upgrade it, I don't know. That's the thing, right? Because if you want to make a little bit of a splash and you want to bring in a guy who's on a team that wants to get out, or you want to bring somebody in, the point is that you got to give something up. You got to give something up. And you got a young team. Gary Trent Jr. is 23. OG's 24. Precious Achua has been a really nice piece. He's, I believe, like 22 or something like that. Or 20 even. Scotty Barnes is 20. I mean, the team is really young.
Yeah.
So do you want to give up on some of these pieces that quickly to bring somebody in? I don't know. But one thing that I do know is that Masai Ujiri and Bobby Webster have been very patient over the years.
Right. Yeah. They've been aggressive but patient. I was just going to say this. Now, you guys are in a great position because, like you said, you're already in the postseason. That's a success. But the three things that I feel like if you're running a team, now I'm no GM, but when you look at the history of the game, the three most important things I feel like you have going for your team. Number one is culture. Like you have to create a culture. You guys have that. Like you guys have a good culture. You're well run. Two, be aggressive. Like aggressive wins. Aggressive's always won in the NBA. You guys have done that. And three, have options. Like have plenty of opportunities to explore different avenues of trades and have assets, and you guys have that. So Toronto Raptors have all three of those things going for you guys. That's a plus. But the question is, what do you do? And I can't help but think, like I remember I tweeted this, Mike. You can call me crazy. So I was like, you know what, Donovan Mitchell, he feels like a Miami Heat. Or like we're always thinking about Dame's always flirting the idea with playing with LeBron. But is it crazy to think that Toronto's out of those sweepstakes? Like, you guys have, like you said, plenty of assets. Would you think it's a smart decision to go after a guy like Donovan, who, let's be honest, he's probably going to lose a lot earlier than he wants to, and he keeps explaining his frustration, and him and Rudy Gobert, he doesn't want to keep losing. A guy like Damian Lillard, they're always flirting with this idea of him leaving. It looks like they're rebuilding, and you guys have a lot of valuable assets. Would you be hyper aggressive and look into those type of guys to say, you know what, let's make a splash? Or do you prefer that patient approach? Obviously, you have a bunch of young guys develop it, and then whoever's able to come so we don't have to give as much.
I would go, as of this point right now, I would go more with the patient approach.
Okay.
Just because, I mean, I would love a Donovan Mitchell, a Damian Lillard. Yeah. Because those guys are next level good at the game of basketball. The only problem is, I wouldn't be hasty to make those moves because I have to make sure that they have the other pieces around them in order to get to a conference finals at least. You know, you can make the move now, but how far are they going to get with the other pieces around them? Now, if you can get the other pieces around them, that's going to be one thing. But if you move a Jakob Poeltl and a DeMar DeRozan for a Kawhi Leonard,
it makes sense.
And you lose, and then he's gone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So as long as they can find the other pieces to plug around them that can help them make that push to maybe get to a conference finals or finals. I'm not even sure a conference finals is good enough at this point. Not for Masai and Bobby. Like at the point that they're at now, especially after winning a championship, a conference finals is not going to cut it. Like that's Masai. If you've been around the culture of the Raptors, these guys are just so hell bent on winning. Like that's it. The one thing you have to do here is a no excuse. You have to win. You have to win.
I love that.
The playoffs are not just going to be good enough anymore. It's decent this year because Masai came in and said, listen, this is a rebuilding year. He loves to assess. He'll take the long approach and assess what he has just to make sure that at that right time, if he can make the splash, he'll make it. But he's not going to do it just for the sake of doing it. He's going to do it when he knows he has a chance to get it all.
Now, before we dive into the rest of the Eastern Conference and the postseason, I do want to talk about this series because we keep talking about the East and like you're like the Knicks, the Hawks, the Hornets, and these are the teams that aren't making the splash, and they're going to be good, or they have young players. You look at the Milwaukees and the Brooklyns and the Phillies and the Miamis. That seems like the East now is almost more balanced and more competitive than it's been in a very, very long time. So now is the time to get your stuff in order. But let's talk about this series. Nick Nurse, he said something that I absolutely love. And you guys are down 0-3, right? So, I mean, we all know that's not a good position to be in. But he said 3-1's been done before. So let's just make it 3-1. So I love that. I don't know why. I just love it. So kind of talk to me about this series. You're playing arguably the MVP of the league, Joel Embiid. You got James Harden. You guys weren't, like you said, the expectations really weren't the postseason. You have the injuries that are happening now. So what are you taking away from this series? Granted, you probably thought this may not have gone your way going in, but have you taken away some positive from it?
The positive from us over here is just that we really get to assess the players that we have, right?
Right.
Like It's one thing to assess them in the regular season. It's another thing to assess them in the postseason, right?
Right.
Now everything's on the line. Now you see who's ready to hoop, right? So you get another look at Fred. You get another look at your main guy in Pascal Siakam. But now you get to see some of the other guys that you're wondering, can this guy possibly step up? What is he going to do? Yeah. So a young guy like Gary Trent Jr., right? We get to see him a little bit. And he was actually really ill the first 2 games. So he wasn't supposed to play in game 1. He tried to play. He was really sick, flu-like symptoms, disaster. He tried to fight it out through game 2. He had to leave at halftime to not return. Game 3, he was feeling a bit better and gave you, I think, 24, right? So you get to see a little bit of Gary Trent Jr. I mean, he's been playing, for the most part, he's played really well this season. Mm-hmm. Defensively, we didn't know how good he was. We knew he was decent, but he was really good on defense this year. It's a shame we didn't get to see more of Scotty Barnes. Not sure if he's going to be playing today. It is a possibility that I'm hearing. Yeah. He had 15, 10, and 8 before going down in the first game. You know what I mean? He was right there on a triple-double, and he was arguably our toughest player in game 1. OG Anunoby has been good as well, right? Can really shoot the ball. Mentioned him a little bit earlier before. But it's just the assessment of the guys. The assessment is, we were a good team, but we still have a very, very far way to go. And the one thing that I like about being down 0-3 is that when it comes to game 4 now, when it comes to winning or going home, you can tell a lot about how a team loses and how a team wins. And I want to see in game 4, whether they win or lose, I want to see how they do it. I want to see how they lose, and I want to see if and how they win. If you lose this game, how do you lose the game? Like when I played up until high school, and then I coached for 12 years. I coached for 12 years since I was in high school and after that. I understand that when it comes to any sport, people say it's all about winning. It's all about winning. You play to win the game. I agree with that, but there's something very cliche when they say sports is not all about winning and losing. It's about how you play the game.
Absolutely.
It's about how you play the game. It is about winning, for sure. You want to go in as winners. You want a winning mentality. It is about how you play the game. It is about how you play the game. When I was a coach, if we lost, okay, fine, we lost. I can't live with you not diving on the ball for loose grounds. I can't live with you not giving your all, moving your feet on defense. I can't live with you not boxing out your man, putting in that work to get a defensive rebound, to get an offensive rebound. I need you to be able to step up and take a charge and use your body, put it on the line.
Yeah.
I need those things. If you do those things for me and we lose, but you leave it on the floor,
You can live with that.
I'm content with that.
Right. We used to call those 90-10s. My high school coach, Coach Howard, we'd have this thing like usually like, 50-50 balls. No, they're 90-10s. We don't lose
90-10s. I like that.
We don't lose those 50-50 balls. You better get on the floor.
100%. I love that. So that's important. I want to see how these guys go out, and I want to see if they can show me something and get a W.
Right.
Being down 3-0.
Now, I'm not to take a negative spin at this, but I'm sure it's something that you've thought of. Nick Nurse is in like one of those odds to become a Lakers head coach. And I mean, I don't know how much validity you add to that. I mean, Doc Rivers is on there, and who knows if Philly wins a championship, he's not going anywhere. You have Quinn Snyder. You have just so many candidates. It's the Lakers, of course. They're going to make some noise regardless if they're bad or good. So what do you make of that? Is Nick Nurse your guy going forward? I know I saw some of you have great content, by the way. So I'm watching your show, and Doc Rivers he's putting up a coaching fight for sure. So Nick Nurse is your guy going forward for sure. You think he stays there?
100%. He's not going anywhere. You're not going anywhere. He's doing too much right now. He's doing too much. Like Nick Nurse is a very good coach. I wouldn't say he's been out-coached by Doc Rivers, but Doc Rivers has the horses at this point. This is about the players in this one.
Yeah.
And I mean, damn it, Joel Embiid is just on another level.
He's unreal.
He is unreal. He is unreal. And, Nick Nurse has still done a really good job. I mean, he almost won you 50 games.
Yeah.
On top of that, he does coach the exactly, right? Made the playoffs. Almost 50 games. He coaches the Canadian national team as well. Nick Nurse is not going anywhere. And at the same time, he has to look at, okay, first of all, the Lakers were a disaster this year. They were a disaster this year. Can they turn it around? Of course they can. I mean, you still have LeBron, Anthony Davis. The other pieces around them is where you're going to have to look at.
Yeah.
I wouldn't put everything on Russell Westbrook like a lot of people have in the media. He's still a very good player to me. He had a very bad season, in my opinion. But the guy can still play. I think it has more across the board with the, entire structure of the roster. But for the Lakers, I mean, I don't know who they want to bring in at this point.
No, yeah, it's a cultural issue, right? We keep talking about the culture. They don't have a culture. There's chaos. We always like a really professional, well-run organization. You don't get leaks. There's a leak before Frank Vogel even knew it. Like this is not a good, well-run team at the moment. It's more than just the roster. I think it's just from the top, bottom, being on the same page, being buttoned up, having a vision. There's a lot to it. They did not make me look too smart or too intelligent this season, but you win some, you lose some. Talk about our guy B Wood earlier. Lost a bet with him. I don't know. I thought the Lakers earlier in the season, and that completely went south. But the Toronto Raptors, you've seen Joel Embiid firsthand, up close and personal. What have you thought of Joel up close?
Yeah, man.
Cool. So we'll pick up right where we left off. I don't know what happened. Some type of technical issue.
Me either. I have no idea.
We'll get started here. I was just saying, you've seen Embiid up close and personal. Now, I think it's probably one of the most competitive MVPs I've seen in a really long time. Like, you can make a case for Embiid. You can make a case for Giannis. You can make a case for Jokic. Personally, I think Joel Embiid's the most dominant center since Shaq. But I made the case for Jokic to get MVP because he didn't have his second or third best player and was able to will his team to the playoffs. I just think it's poor timing. He's going to probably get swept by the Warriors. But my point is, let's focus on Joel Embiid. You've seen him up close and personal, from his skill to his physicality to his size to his mentality. How dominant is this guy for people that really don't know?
Honestly, so I've stood next to this guy a lot this season. Obviously, they're in our division. We play them a bunch.
Yeah.
See them during the playoffs. One thing is, when you see these guys on TV, and you know this, Max, It's a different vibe when they're in the stadium, right?
Yeah.
You're in there a lot.
Yeah.
Joel Embiid is a massive human being. I'm like, he's massive. He's
Yeah.
massive. I'll put it at that. The footwork, right? The soft hands. I've never seen anything like this guy. I've never seen anything like this guy. And you mentioned it when you just said it. His competitive edge, man. Like, he competes.
Yeah.
And he talks a lot of smack.
Yeah, he's a
at
dog.
the same time. He doesn't play around when he's out there. He is for real. He wants to destroy you. And it's so hard to actually, especially with the guys around him, with the emergence of a guy like Tyrese Maxey.
Yeah.
Tobias Harris when he's on and he's making shots. Danny Green, if he's on and making shots. What do you do? What do you do? Because if they're making shots and now you got to keep them honest, you're dumping the ball into Joel Embiid now. He catches you. His back is towards you. He's going to back you down. You got to throw some type of double or triple team at him or else you're going to get cooked, right? He faces you up. Nice little soft 15, 16, 17 footer. It's just a nightmare. It's just a nightmare. One pump fake, he puts the ball on the ground. He gets in there. And the thing is, if he gets 2-3 feet away from the basket, if you don't have some real dogs in there going up to try to get defensive rebounds, he's getting that offensive rebound. He's going back up and he's going to dunk on you. So it's just a really, really tough situation. It's a tough cover, especially when you don't have the personnel. Especially because we're a team that plays a lot of 6'9" guys. We have the Chris Bouchers and, Kem Birch, Precious Achua. And it's like we don't really have a really big, solid. I'll give you an example, right? You know who we really miss right now on this team?
Who?
Marc Gasol.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys could use some Mark.
When Marc Gasol played for the Raptors for that season, Joel Embiid could do absolutely nothing against Marc Gasol. He couldn't move him.
Mark's a man's man. Like that's a big dude.
I'm telling you, Marc Gasol is a big, big boy. Yeah. I'm talking bigger than Embiid. Couldn't move him at all. But now, if you don't have that, you're in trouble. You can't stop him.
No,
you can't stop him.
You can't. No, yeah, you. For people that don't know, and I remember my first season covering the Magic, and I was like, this is really cool. But I was there's like two things I could not wrap my head around. One was warm-ups. They don't miss. Like, these guys don't miss. People don't understand how good these players are. They don't miss. And I could just watch them warm up all game long. And Kawhi Leonard to this day has my favorite warm up. Usually everyone just shoots a couple, inside shots and then goes out to the three and they start doing that. He was like almost 80% of his warm ups when he was in Orlando was straight mid range. Like, I loved it because everyone shooting threes. He was form shooting. He was mid range, just pure fundamentals.
All mid range jumpers.
Love this. I was like, I love this. But the warm-ups and the size of these players. I remember the eye-opening experience for me was Dellavedova. I believe he was probably in Milwaukee at the time. He was walking by me through the tunnel. I'm like, this dude is massive. This is Matthew Dellavedova. You don't think of a size of Dellavedova. He's usually the point guard who's annoying people. He's an agitator. He's a big dude. He's broad shoulders. He's taller than me. I'm like, that's Dellavedova. And I remember DeMarcus Cousins walked past me. I'm like, yeah. This is different.
It's so funny. Isn't it funny how you remember certain guys when they walk by you? For me, the guy I remember is always Jay Crowder.
He's big.
Jay Crowder. When I look, he's a big dude, man.
Yes.
And I'm looking at some of the guys. I'm just like, Jesus.
He's yoked. He's swole.
He's swole, man. I'm like, geez, man, these guys are big and fast.
And they don't miss. These are the best athletes in the world, and just people look at them on TV and they think, oh, okay, no, there's levels to this. Now, I'll say this: Joel Embiid and Giannis Antetokounmpo are the monstars of the NBA. like just physically different. Like we're talking about how physically gifted the whole league is, but those two dudes are like monsters. Like when they play,
100%.
they make people who are big and fast look like us, like just normal human beings. Like those guys are on a different level. Like when I interviewed Giannis, his shoulders were like boulders, and he's 7 foot, and this guy is taking 3 steps and he's at the rim.
I'm telling you, man. 3 dribbles, full court.
Ridiculous. Yeah, it's not fair. And then now wait, he can hit the 3. He's passing now. He gets it. He works hard. It's like you just can't stop guys like that. Mike, I really appreciate your time. You're one of the best basketball minds in the business. I love your show. I love your content.
Thank you, man.
So I can't let you go unless I get your prediction on something. So the East is one of the most like. I usually would stay up super late because obviously East Coast to watch the West Coast games. I could not miss the West Coast games.
Yeah.
Right now it's the East for me. Obviously the timing works out better, but I'm like, I can't miss this Nets Celtics game. Like I can't miss this Toronto Philly or the Bulls and Milwaukee. I just am in love with the East right now with the playoffs. Who is your guy? I mean, not your guy. What is your team to come out of the East? Because I've heard a couple different pitches. I know Perk is like he likes Boston. You can make the case for Philly. Joel Embiid's unstoppable. Miami was the number 1 seed. They're clicking. Atlanta just stole a game, but mine is the Milwaukee Bucks. I think they have the least amount of questions out of the rest of the NBA. Like injuries, health, championship roster, best player in the world. Mine's the Bucks. Who's your team to come out the East?
So originally, I still may keep it. I had the Bucks. I have the Milwaukee Bucks. The Middleton injury scares me.
Yeah.
I believe they'll get past Chicago with or without Middleton. The question is, what are they going to do after the first round? If Middleton is there, I'll take the Bucks.
Okay.
If Middleton is not there, I'll take the Celtics.
Really?
I'll take the Celtics. Yeah, I like the toughness of the Celtics. I like where their mindset is at right now.
Yep.
I feel different about the Celtics now. In years past, I was a little bit iffy. I thought they had the talent, but I wasn't sure that they had the mental makeup and that grit yet. Mm-hmm. And I find they have that now. I like their role players. I like the defensive bigs that they have in Tyus and Al Horford. When Williams comes back, I like it even more, right? Mm-hmm. Having that Marcus Smart, Derek White come in that trade that they made from San Antonio. Mm-hmm. I just really like the depth of the Celtics. And Ime Udoka is doing a fantastic job over there. I think aside from the X's and O's, I think the culture has I wouldn't say it hasn't been there. I think it's been there, but I think he's intensified it a little bit. I think he's really made these guys believe that they're the best team in the league. Right. I think he's done that for them.
And it's not like we're going to go win it. Like we have a chance to go win it. We're going to go get it. Like that's the we're going to go get it. And then you could see it. Like they're going after it. They're playing physical. They're punking KD. Like I like it. They're getting in his jersey. I love it. I like that. That's a good pick. I do see that for sure, especially if Middleton doesn't get healthy. Mike, where can people find you? Where can people listen to your podcast? Where can they reach out to you? The floor is yours.
All right. So on Instagram, at Mike Roach 7, on Twitter, Mike_Roach_. So my podcast, the Mike Roach Podcast, I'm on Amazon Music, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, just the Mike Roach Podcast. And also if you go on YouTube, I have a show for Yahoo Canada Sports, Hustle Play, with myself and Toronto Raptors forward Chris Boucher. Our last episode we did was with Toronto Raptor forward Thaddeus Young.
Nice.
We had rookie Delano Banton, who's a hometown kid. So you can catch me on YouTube as well. I'm all over the place, Max. I'm trying to be like you here.
No.
Okay? I'm trying to be like you. And honestly, man, you have been fantastic. I've been watching you now for the last year and a half, 2 years. You and I have connected. And I'm so hyped to see you doing your thing right now, man. I can't wait till we get to connect in person.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I cannot wait for that. I really do appreciate that. We all have to stick together. We all fuel each other. We're all just trying to make it and continue to do what we love, and that's talk hoops. So everyone listening, please give Mike a follow. It's an absolute honor to have you on. You're welcome absolutely anytime. And if I ever go to Toronto, best believe I'm giving you a call.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. You might see me come to Florida soon, too.
You just let me know whenever you want to get the flip-flop sandals out and go to the beach. You just let me know.
I hear you. Thank you, man.
Soon. Boom. Let me end this.